know who said this. Life is either a daring adventure or it is nothing. Helen Keller, good. You win the prize. Thank you. That's wonderful. You know, that's a daring statement, isn't it? That life is either a daring adventure or it's nothing. And of course, to her, she learned how to make life a daring adventure with the help of many, and certainly her great teacher. But life was nothing before that, because she couldn't hear, she couldn't see, she couldn't understand. And so life is a daring adventure. We all have that choice to make. Are we going to make it that way? We're going to make life exciting and fun and be able to undertake these courageous things that we have to do in this life. That, to me, is an adventure. But I have found that in speaking with people, that life is not nothing. It is more like a soap opera. That people tend to get caught in, like, how many soap operas have you watched where they're caught in this revolving door forever? And it is something where people are in conflama. Don't you love that word we coined here? Conflict and drama all the time. And these people, they want to have what they want to have, but they don't want to do much of anything to get it. And they certainly do not want to change. No, they don't want to change. So a soap opera life, I'm not interested in that, but I am interested in a daring adventure. So here we are, and I invite you to think of the circumstances in your life and how you think of life. Circumstances, interesting word, isn't it? Circum is the circle, stances where you stand. And so right around you then are the circumstances of your life. How does it feel? Are you happy with the circumstances of your life? Are you happy with your life? Sometimes that circle around us seems too tight. And I think that that's a good thing. Because Spirit is always calling us, come out of that circle. Get out of those circumstances. You can do better than that. Open yourself to possibilities. This life is full of possibilities. It was Emily Dickinson who said, dwell in possibilities, live there, and see that things are possible in this life. So I want to share a little story that comes from the Bible, Jesus and the disciples. Now in this story, Jesus is walking on water. Let's not get stuck on that, please. You can believe it or not, it's totally up to you. But do I believe that he could do this? Yes, I do believe he could do that because he understood the laws of the universe. Why not? But I have to ask, for what purpose would he have done that? To show off? Well, I don't think so, because that wasn't his nature. So we're just going to let go of that, and instead of looking at the story literally, let's look at it metaphysically and make it our story. Because Jesus represents this Christ spirit within all of us. That to our human ways of thinking and seeing, there are many things that are impossible. But Spirit doesn't see it that way. The Christ Spirit sees that everything is possible. And so there's also Peter in this story. And Peter represents our faith that sometimes wavers. He represents, however, that part of us, that faith part of us, that wants to be like the Christ Spirit within, that always wants to come up higher. Remember what faith is? Faith is the power that we have to take that step into the unknown and know that our feet are either going to land on solid ground or we're going to learn how to fly. Well, that's faith. And I can say that probably everyone in this room at some point has learned how to fly. So here's Peter then, and he wants to do what Jesus is doing. But here's the first thing that he has to do. He's got to get out of this little circle of his circumstances. He's got to get out of the boat. He's got to take that first step to go beyond his comfort zone. I have to applaud him for that. What were the others doing? Well, they were just sitting there looking, doing nothing. But here's Peter now, and he is going to do what the Christ says he can do. So he gets out and he walks on the water for a while. And as long as he keeps his sight on the possibilities and the Christ within, he's okay. But as soon as he looks down and doubts if he can do this, he sinks. This truly is our story. How many of us have said, well, I'm not getting out of my boat. I'm not going to start walking on the waters of life. That's too scary for me. I said that. It was about 24 years ago when I was approached by my then minister, Phil Laporte. He was my mentor also. And he said, I think that we should establish a ministry south of the river. We were in Bloomington, that's how he could say south of the river. And he said, you're the one to do it. I'm like, what? You expect me to get out of my boat of comfort? I mean, I don't even want my boat rocked, let alone get out of it. No way. And he kept saying, but you can do this. And I kept saying, no, I can't. And finally, he won out. He never let up on me. That was the thing. And finally, I had to say yes. If I had knew what I was getting into, however, well, I didn't know, so of course I said yes. And I soon found out that life was a daring adventure. And with all of you, look where we are. We're standing right here all together. This is truly wonderful. But you see, we are so afraid of the unknown. Totally afraid of the unknown because we honestly don't know where our feet are going to land. There is an animal, a very unique animal called the African impala. And if I'm telling a non-truth, now Larry's going to talk to me afterward, but this is what I read about it, that this animal can jump over 10 feet in the air, and it can leap 30 feet beyond that. And so if you were going to, you would think, in a zoo, you would have to have a wall to keep this animal from jumping that would be over 10 feet tall. In the wild, you see, this animal has no problem, but once it's enclosed, like in a zoo, you don't have to have a 10-foot high wall. You can have a 3-foot one. Because that animal will not jump, it will not leap, if it doesn't know exactly where its feet are going to land. And that's you and me. We don't know where our feet are going to land. And so often we don't jump, we don't take the leap, we don't get out of the boat. You know, it's something, when I began to do research on all of these things and on the possibilities that we have in this life, that I began to see that we close ourselves off from all these things because of our fear. There is so much we do not know. But instead of focusing on what we don't know, let's focus on what we do know. What do we believe about ourselves? Whatever it is, I know that we can believe more because there is more to us. Whatever we have done, however wonderful it is, no matter how many things we have faced, no matter how much fear we have put behind us, there's still more. There's more for us to discover about ourselves. much, much more. We have unlimited potential. We are God beings. You realize what an outrageous statement that really is? You are a God being. How can I say that? Well, first of all, it says in Scripture that we are made in the image and likeness of our Creator. Now, there are many ways that we could explain this, that we are God beings. So the first way that I'm thinking of is that we could explain it in a scientific way. Because quantum physics tells us that this universe is like a gigantic energy field. Invisible energy. And you and I are energy beings immersed in this field. We live and move and have our being in this energy field. And the thoughts that we have are vibrational energy waves that can interact and influence this energy. Isn't that amazing, the power we have? Not only the power to take invisible substance with our imaginations and bring it into visible form. Don't you find that just amazing? I do. I do. And not only that, but we have the power to focus on not just what we see. Because if we focus on just what we see, we're going to stay in the same spot. But through our imaginations, we have the power to focus on what we want to see. On what we want to see. We are incredibly powerful. Now there's another way to explain it, and that would be that this universe is like God Ocean. I think we're very familiar with this way of explaining it. That you and I are waves in this ocean. You can't take a wave out of the ocean. How would you possibly do that? Because you don't know where the wave leaves off and the ocean begins. So we can't take ourselves out of this God ocean. No one can take us out of it either. We're talking about oneness here. The oneness that we are. And we are in this life to awaken to that oneness. To see the possibilities. To keep ourselves open to spirit. Not only to connect with it, but to see ourselves as spirit. It was Plato's counsel. Know thyself above all else. Know thyself. Consciously being aware of who we are is the foundation for a happy and a successful life. It truly is. But are we consciously aware? Do we really know what we're made of? So I'm going to ask you to pretend for a moment. Pretend that this is the first time that you are meeting you. And I will pretend that this is the first time I'm meeting me. So when we are meeting somebody, what do we want to know? I want to know all about that person. So I'm going to ask me, well, what do you think you are? And you're going to ask you probably something on the same lines, but you could say, well, who am I? That simple question, who am I? It's a simple question, but it's one of self-discovery, and it's one that requires deep reflection. Who am I? Because it has nothing to do with this external world. Absolutely nothing. So I don't care how many diplomas or certificates and things you have hanging on your wall, because it isn't about that. It's not about your job. It's not how well or not well you function at your job. It's not your titles. It isn't about even the fact that you might be a mother and a father, and you might be darn good ones. It isn't about the fact that you're a loving brother or sister or any of that. It's about something else. It's about your essence. So if you took away all that external stuff, what would be left? The light. Oh yes, that's very good. The light. And what would be left would be pure spirit. That's what you are. Pure spirit. And here we say thank you. Thank you, Shelley, for what you said today, and also for your comeback right now. Because here we say what? I am
the light of the world.
The light of the world. Thank you. You have it on your mirror yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? All right. I love it on my mirror because it's my reminder that I need more than once a day. I am the light of the world. The Master told me that. That's very important to me. In our membership class, there was something else that we talked about, something that we all need to know. That we came to this earth beautiful. Not sinful, not flawed, but we came here absolutely beautiful, perfect, and whole. But do we believe it? Do we act like it? Do we live like it? Well, that's up to each one of us to answer that, isn't it? But there was a woman, well, actually, I'll tell you who it was, Myrtle Fillmore, our co-founder of Unity. And she was raised with the belief that she was sinful. She was flawed. So when at age 41, she received the diagnosis from the doctor that she had 6 months to live because she had tuberculosis. She may have believed that. I don't know how the initial reaction was for her. But then she went to a lecture. And she heard something totally different that was in direct opposition of what she had believed. And this new idea resonated within her soul. And that new idea was, I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. And she took this home and began to work with it. I think most of us know the story. How she committed herself to her spiritual practices. How she apologized to the cells of her body, all the naughty things that she had said about herself. Things that weren't true. She was beginning to see that. She, as a spiritual practice, would have Jesus sitting in a chair opposite her, and she would speak with him. Do you know that in 2 years, with all these spiritual practices she did, this woman was completely healed? And she lived to be 86 years old. Now, that's a powerful story, because it is a story that can be our story. Any story that we find that is uplifting, why not take it as ours? You see, what she did and what all of us hopefully are doing is expanding our concept of God. And she recognized that there was an inner divinity within her that was greater than her illness. She was holding a sacred space for the spirit of the universe to do its mighty work through her. Well, now, isn't that what we're all here for? So what are we really made of? We're made of spirit. We're made of spirit. We are all here as divine expressions of this spirit, of the universe, whatever we want to call it. And we have a purpose here, something that we are to fulfill. And nobody can tell you what that is. It's up to you to listen to the voice within you to find out what that is. But when you are going to listen to the voice, you must turn off all the noise. In this noisy world, we are so distracted by all this noise. Turn it off. Listen. Pay attention. Be open. The truth of us is that what we are really made of is spirit. We need to listen to spirit. That's what life is about. It's then that life really becomes a daring adventure. It's fun. It's exciting. Try it. You'll love it. Namaste.